At the dawn of human existence, long before cities rose from the earth, and long before any story was written on stone, early humans walked a world that was raw, wild, and unforgiving. Dense jungles stretched endlessly, mountains carved the horizon, and the air echoed with the calls of powerful predators. In this prehistoric world, human life was fragile. There were no tools, no permanent shelters, no language to communicate complex thoughts, only instinct, fear, and the constant struggle to survive. Every morning brought new dangers. Every night brought freezing cold and darkness filled with hungry beasts. Alone, a human was nothing more than prey, a small figure in a massive world where survival was never guaranteed. Yet within these vulnerable beings lived something unique, a spark of intelligence, emotion, and connection. And it was that spark that began to change everything. Somewhere in the ancient grasslands, a mother held her child close to her chest, shielding it from the cold wind. Nearby, another lone wanderer, tired and hungry, approached cautiously. They watched each other, recognizing the same fear, the same struggle. Slowly, they moved closer. Soon, others joined, strangers at first, uncertain of each other's intentions, but in the face of danger, something powerful happened. They chose to stay together. This was the silent beginning of the first family. Living together transformed their world entirely. Instead of facing predators alone, they kept watch in turns. Instead of searching for food individually, they learned to gather more efficiently as a group. Communication began with gestures, pointing toward danger, signaling for silence, sharing simple ideas. Touch became reassurance. Eye contact became understanding. And emotion, something deeply human, became their strongest tool. They felt fear together, rested together, celebrated small victories together. Slowly, they began to trust one another. This trust became the foundation of survival. As these first families traveled across forests and plains, they encountered other families wandering the land. At first, both groups were cautious. After all, strangers could be a threat. But hunger pushed them closer. Storms pushed them to share shelter, and curiosity led them to observe one another. Over time, two families became one larger group. Several small groups merged and formed the earliest human communities. These were not communities built from rules or leadership. They were born from shared survival and shared emotion. Around fires built from dry branches, early humans gathered at night. Firelight became more than heat. It became connection. In the warm glow, they shared memories, experiences, and simple stories through gestures and expressions. Children watched their elders learn how to shape stones, how to track animals, how to avoid danger. These moments were humanity's first classrooms. The passing of knowledge from one generation to another wasn't accidental, it was intentional. And this transfer of knowledge created the first culture. With more people came more ideas. As communities grew, humans began creating better tools, sharper stones, stronger spears, and more effective hooks for gathering plants. They built temporary shelters using branches and large leaves. They observed animal behavior and learned patterns that helped them hunt or avoid danger. They developed roles. Some hunted, some gathered, some cared for children or prepared shelters. This early division of labor made them far more efficient than any solitary creature in the wild. As the centuries passed, humans spread across continents, through Africa, into Asia, across Europe, and later to distant lands. They learned to adapt to every environment they encountered. In cold regions, they made clothing from animal skins. In deserts, they learned to conserve water. In forests, they mastered climbing and gathering. These abilities were possible only because families shared knowledge, supported each other, and built a sense of identity. Belonging became a powerful force. Humans didn't just survive together, they grew together. With time, families grew into clans. Clans grew into tribes. Tribes became the first organized societies. They developed early rituals, songs, dances, carvings, and symbols. Cave walls became canvases that preserved their experiences. Burial sites were created to honor those who passed. These early signs of spirituality and art showed that humans were thinking beyond survival. They were thinking about meaning. And that pursuit of meaning was rooted in shared life, shared struggle, and shared memory. From these early communities came the first innovations: planned hunting strategies, long-term shelters, early forms of counting, and basic trade between groups. These developments shaped the next stages of human evolution. And yet through all this progress, the foundation remained the same: the emotional connections that held families and communities together. Humans protected their young for longer than any other species. They cared for their injured, supported their elders, and shared food even when resources were scarce. These behaviors were not just acts of kindness, they were acts of survival, strengthening bonds and ensuring the group's future. As thousands of years passed, humans discovered agriculture. They began planting seeds, growing crops, and domesticating animals. Temporary camps turned into permanent settlements. Settlements grew into villages. Villages expanded into early cities. And cities later evolved into civilizations. Writing systems, trade networks, beliefs, laws, and technology all emerged from the foundation built by those first families who chose unity over solitude. Every achievement of human history, every invention, every discovery, every civilization was made possible because early humans learned to stand together. Even today, in a world filled with extraordinary advances, the legacy of those first families remains strong. Every community we build, every relationship we form, every act of cooperation we experience, each one is a quiet echo of the first human families gathering around a fire thousands of years ago. Our progress, our dreams, our ability to create, lead, and love all come from those early bonds that shaped the destiny of our species. Humanity did not rise because we were the strongest. We rose because we were the most connected, because we cared, because we chose each other in a world where being alone meant disappearing into history. The story of how human communities were born is a story of courage, unity, empathy, and evolution. It is the story of how we became human. And it all began with families, small, fragile, determined, who changed the course of the world by standing together in the heart of the ancient wild.